Once upon a time, in the lush green lands of Bengkulu, there lived a poor woman with her 3 daughters. Life was not easy for them, especially after the father passed away. The mother worked tirelessly every day just to put food on the table and care for her daughters. The eldest 2 daughters, however, cared little about their mother's sacrifices. They spent their days admiring themselves in mirrors, adorning their hair with flowers, and dreaming of a life of luxury. They refused to lift a finger to help. But the youngest daughter was different. She was kind-hearted, humble, and always ready to lend a hand. She helped with the cooking, cleaning, and worked alongside her mother without ever complaining. One day the mother fell ill. Her body grew weak, and she could no longer work. Seeing this, the youngest daughter decided to take her mother's place and earn a living. Before leaving, she looked at her sisters and said gently, "Please, take care of Mother while I'm gone. She needs rest and love now more than ever." But as soon as she was out the door, the 2 older sisters went back to their usual ways, ignoring their mother, treating her harshly, and leaving her alone in pain. When the youngest returned home that evening, her heart broke. Her mother looked even weaker. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "I have to find a way to help her." The next morning she visited the village healer. The healer looked at her with concern and said, "There is only one thing that can cure your mother now, a magical fire ember that burns at the top of Mount Dung. But be warned, young one, the ember is guarded by a terrifying creature, the great serpent known as Ular Ndung. Many have tried, but none have returned." Despite her fear, the youngest daughter nodded. "I'll go," she said, her voice firm. "I'd rather face a monster than lose my mother." So she climbed the steep mountain, her heart pounding with every step. When she finally reached the summit, she saw the glowing ember flickering gently among the rocks. But before she could touch it, a massive serpent slithered out from the shadows, its eyes glowing, its tongue flicking, its body coiled like a mountain of scales. The girl trembled but bowed respectfully. "Great Ular Ndung," she said, "I've come for the ember. My mother is gravely ill, and this is her only hope." The serpent stared at her for a moment. Then, in a deep, rumbling voice, it said, "I will give you the ember, but only if you agree to return and live here with me as my bride." She hesitated. The thought frightened her, but her mother needed the ember. "I agree," she said quietly, "but please let me take the ember home first. My mother's life depends on it." Ular Ndung nodded. "Go, but return before the next moon rises." The girl hurried home and used the ember to heal her mother. Slowly, color returned to the woman's cheeks. She could speak again, smile again, and even laugh. The youngest daughter wept with joy. Then, keeping her promise, she kissed her mother goodbye and climbed back up the mountain. But when she reached the top again, the serpent was gone. In its place stood a handsome young man. "Who are you?" she asked, startled. The man smiled. "I am Prince Abdul Rama Alamzia. I was cursed by my uncle, who wanted my throne. He turned me into the serpent Ular Ndung. By day I was a monster, but by night I could return to my true form." The girl listened in amazement as he continued, "But your kindness broke through the curse. I believe I can be free soon." Unbeknownst to them, her 2 sisters had followed her, burning with jealousy. From behind a rock, they watched the prince and the girl speaking together under the moonlight. The next day, the sisters returned to the mountain top. When the prince had turned back into a serpent, They found the shed snakeskin and set it on fire, hoping to turn the prince against their sister. But instead, something magical happened. As the smoke rose, a bright light surrounded the prince. The curse was lifted completely. He would never again be a serpent. Overwhelmed with joy, the prince turned to the youngest daughter and said, "You saved me, not just with courage, but with love. Will you be my queen?" She nodded, and the two returned to the kingdom together. The prince reclaimed his throne from his wicked uncle, and they were married in a grand celebration. The youngest daughter did not forget her family. She invited her mother and even her two sisters to live with her in the palace. There was no anger in her heart, only forgiveness. And so they all lived peacefully in the kingdom, where kindness ruled over cruelty, and where love broke even the deepest curse. Moral of the story: kindness, courage, and sincerity will always triumph over greed, deceit, and cruelty. No matter how humble one's origins, a pure heart can bring great change. Forgiveness and compassion have the power to heal broken families and build a more peaceful future.